The rain hammered the cafeteria windows like it had a grudge against the world, turning the gray Seattle afternoon into a blurry watercolor of regret. I was midway through shoving a soggy fry into my mouth when Wyatt Kane slid into the seat across from me, his leather jacket dripping onto the linoleum, that trademark grin splitting his face like he owned the storm outside. "Pass the salt, babe," he said, loud enough for the entire table of jocks and cheerleaders to freeze, forks hovering midair, eyes snapping to us like we'd just lit the fuse on a bomb. My heart didn't just skip. It plummeted, crashing through my ribs and pooling hot in my gut. Babe. The word hung there, casual as breathing for him, but for me it was a grenade pin pulled in slow motion, the shrapnel already slicing into every secret I'd buried since freshman year. I choked on nothing, my tray rattling as my knee jerked under the table. Laughter erupted first from Tyler across the way, then rippled out like a virus, harsh, probing, the kind that sticks to your skin long after the bell rings. Wyatt didn't flinch. He just reached over, plucked the shaker from my limp fingers and winked, like calling your maybe friend something that intimate in front of half the senior class was just another Tuesday. That was the moment I knew my carefully constructed walls, built from years of nodding along to Dad's Sunday sermons and Mom's worried glances at those city types, were crumbling. And Wyatt Kane, with his storm cloud eyes and laugh like thunder rolling over Puget Sound, was the wrecking ball. I'd moved to Haven Point High from a nowhere town in eastern Washington the summer before, trading dusty fields for this relentless drizzle that mirrored the fog in my head. Haven Point wasn't much. A cluster of brick buildings hugging the edge of Lake Washington, where ferries cut through the mist like ghosts and kids like me dreamed of escaping to something brighter. I was Elias Harper, but everyone called me Eli, the quiet kid who blended into the lockers, acing AP Lit essays on Gatsby's green light while pretending my own desires were just shadows on the wall. Wyatt was the opposite. Captain of the soccer team with sun-kissed skin from summer surfing the Oregon coast despite the rain, and a family legacy tied to the old Kane logging mill that had shaped half the town. He was 18, a year ahead, all lean muscle and effortless charm. The guy who could disarm a teacher with a joke or rally the team after a loss with a speech that sounded scripted for a coming-of-age flick. We'd met in English, dissecting The Great Gatsby side by side, his knee brushing mine under the desk more times than coincidence allowed. "You get it, Eli," he'd whisper, leaning in close enough for me to catch the faint cedar scent of his cologne. "That ache for something you can't touch. It's like breathing underwater." I told myself it was nothing. He was just being nice, the golden boy extending a hand to the new kid. But those brushes lingered, his eyes holding mine a beat too long, and in the quiet of my bedroom overlooking the lake, I'd replay them until my chest hurt. I wasn't out. Hell, I could barely admit it to myself. Dad was a deacon at First Baptist, quoting Leviticus like it was the weather report, and Mom baked casseroles for potlucks and prayed for my guidance. After finding that dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room, hidden under my mattress, coming out wasn't an option. It was a detonation. So I played along, laughing at his jokes, sharing playlists of indie folk bands that made the rain feel less lonely. We'd linger after practice on the field, him kicking a ball my way while I pretended to know the rules, the floodlights casting long shadows that danced like unspoken promises. "You're not like the others, Eli," he'd say, tossing me a water bottle, his fingers grazing mine. "You see the cracks in things." That afternoon in the cafeteria stretched into eternity. Tyler slapped the table, his voice booming over the din. "Babe? Kane, you slumming it with Harper now? What's next?" Poetry slams in the broom closet. The cheerleaders tittered, phones already out, capturing the moment for Snapchat infamy. My face burned, a traitorous heat crawling up my neck, and I wanted to vanish, melt into the puddle forming under Wyatt's jacket. But Wyatt just leaned back, arms crossed over his chest, that grin sharpening into something defiant. "Jealous, Ty? Eli's got more heart in one finger than your whole playbook." The table went quiet, the kind of quiet that precedes a storm. Tyler's jaw ticked, but he backed off, muttering something about freaks under his breath as the bell rang. I bolted, tray abandoned, weaving through the crowd to the bathroom down the hall. The door slammed behind me, and I gripped the sink, staring at my reflection, pale, wide-eyed, lips still tingling from the ghost of that word. "Babe." It wasn't a slip, Wyatt didn't slip. He chose it, threw it out like a challenge to the universe. The door creaked open minutes later, and there he was, filling the frame, concern etching lines around his eyes. Eli, wait. What the hell was that? I snapped, whirling on him, my voice cracking like thin ice. Water droplets from the leaky faucet plinked into the silence. He stepped closer, hands up like I was a spooked animal. I couldn't take it anymore. The way they look at you like you're invisible. You're not, Eli. Not to me. My breath hitched. The air between us thickened, charged with the scent of rain and something sharper, unspoken. His hand found my shoulder, thumb brushing the collar of my hoodie, and for a second I leaned into it, the warmth seeping through cotton like sunlight after months of gray. Then the door banged open again. Some freshman, oblivious, washing his hands while we froze. Wyatt dropped his touch, stepping back, but his eyes stayed locked on mine, promising more. Meet me after school? By the pier. I nodded, numb as he slipped out. The rest of the day blurred. Algebra equations swimming on the page, whispers trailing me like smoke. By final bell my phone buzzed. Texts from unknown numbers, memes of rainbows and clown emojis, the digital equivalent of locker room graffiti. I powered it off, grabbing my backpack and heading to the lake's edge, where the pier jutted out like a forgotten promise. Wyatt was already there, skipping stones across the choppy water, his silhouette sharp against the fading light. He turned as I approached, pulling me into a hug that smelled of salt and pine. I'm sorry if I outed us, he murmured into my hair. But hiding? That's killing you, Eli. And me. The word wrapped around my ribs, squeezing. I pulled back, searching his face. Those high cheekbones dusted with faint stubble. The scar above his lip from a childhood bike crash he'd laughed about once. You don't get it. My family's. They won't. I do get it. His voice softened, cracking just a fraction. My dad's the same, mill owner, Bible thumper. Thinks love's a transaction. Last year when I told him about my ex, he locked me out for a week. Slept in the truck. He laughed, bitter, but his hand found mine, lacing our fingers. But you're worth the fight, Eli. From that first day in class when you quoted Whitman like it was scripture. I knew. The rain picked up, misting our faces, but we stood there, hands clasped, the world narrowing to the space between us. His lips brushed my forehead, tentative, then firmer, a seal on the chaos. When he kissed me properly, slow, deep tasting of peppermint gum and desperation, the pier seemed to tilt, the lake swallowing our shadows. We broke apart, gasping, foreheads pressed together. What now? I whispered, the weight of tomorrow crashing in. Now? We figure it out. Together. He smiled, that thunder laugh rumbling low. Babe. The word didn't sting this time. It bloomed. The weeks that followed were a fever dream. The kind where every touch felt electric and every glance a risk worth taking. Wyatt and I carved out stolen moments like thieves in the night. Kisses in the shadowed stacks of the school library, where the scent of aged paper masked our hurried breaths. Late-night drives along the winding roads to Snoqualmie Falls, his hand on my thigh as indie rock crooned from the speakers, the waterfalls roared drowning out my doubts. Haven Point High buzzed with rumors, of course, whispers in the halls, sidelong stares in the locker room, but Wyatt wore it like armor, slinging an arm around my shoulders in the quad, daring anyone to say a word. You're brave, I told him one evening, curled on the worn plaid couch in his basement, the TV flickering with some forgotten rom-com neither of us watched. His family's old Victorian house creaked under the weight of secrets, the mill's distant hum a lullaby through the floorboards. He traced lazy circles on my arm, his touch featherlight. Nah. Just tired of pretending. His voice dipped, vulnerability cracking through the bravado. You make it easy, Eli. Like I can breathe again. I wanted to believe him, to let that warmth chase away the chill of my own house. Dad's stern prayers at dinner, Mom's fluttering hand smoothing my hair as if to iron out the confusion she sensed but never named. But doubt not at me, a quiet beast in the dark. What if this was a phase for him? Wyatt, with his easy smiles and adoring fans, could have anyone. Why me, the bookish kid who flinched at loud voices and dreamed in metaphors? Our first real date was impulsive, born of a rainy Saturday when the town felt too small. Screw it. Wyatt said, tossing me the keys to his beat-up Ford pickup. Let's hit Seattle. Pike Place, the works. We blasted through the I-90 bridge, windows down despite the downpour, singing off-key to Hosier until our throats ached. The market was a riot of color. Fishmongers hurling salmon like acrobats, flower stalls bursting with dahlias that mirrored the flush on my cheeks when Wyatt bought me a bouquet, tucking a stem behind my ear with a grin that stopped my heart. We wandered the waterfront, hands brushing until he threaded our fingers openly, ignoring the occasional double-take from tourists. At the Ferris wheel we piled into a gondola, the city lights twinkling below like fallen stars. As we crested the top, he pulled me close, his lips finding mine in a kiss that tasted of salt spray and freedom. I love this, he murmured against my mouth. You. Us. Love. The word lodged in my throat too big too soon. But in that suspended moment with the space needle piercing the dusk, I whispered it back, the syllables trembling like rain on glass. Back in Haven Point, reality seeped in like fog off the lake. School was a minefield. Tyler's crew escalating from snickers to shoves in the halls, one afternoon pinning me against the gym wall with jeers of Kane's charity case. I didn't tell Wyatt, didn't want to dim his light. Instead, I buried it in essays on forbidden love and literature, the irony twisting like a knife. Then came the party. Mason Reed's bash at his parents' lake house, the sprawling A-frame with a deck overlooking the water, bonfire crackling against the November chill. Everyone was there, the whole senior class, red solo cups in hand, bass thumping from hidden speakers. Wyatt dragged me through the crowd, his arm a steady anchor, introducing me with that proud tilt to his chin. This is Eli, the guy who keeps me honest. Eyes lingered, judgments veiled in smiles, but for once I felt seen. We danced in the crush of bodies, his hands on my hips guiding me to the rhythm, laughter bubbling up as I stepped on his toes. Upstairs, away from the noise, we tumbled onto a guest bed, kisses turning fervent, clothes shedding like old skin. His body over mine was a revelation, warm, urgent, the press of him erasing every doubt. You're everything, he gasped, our breaths mingling in the dim lamplight. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of lavender detergent, he traced the freckles across my chest. Move in with me after graduation, he said, half asleep, voice thick with dreams. Get an apartment in the city. Just us. My heart swelled, but so did the fear. A tidal wave crashing against fragile shores. What about college? Your scholarship. We'll make it work. His eyes fluttered open, serious now. I can't lose this, Eli. I held him tighter, willing it to be true, even as the first cracks appeared. Monday morning brought the storm. I found the note in my locker, scrawled in Sharpie on notebook paper. Kane's playing you. Ask him about Portland. No signature, but the handwriting screamed Tyler, blocky, aggressive. I crumpled it, stomach churning, but by lunch doubt had rooted deep. Wyatt was late, sliding in with his usual grin, but his eyes were shadowed, phone buzzing incessantly in his pocket. Ignore it, he said, kissing my temple. Drama from the team. But the whispers followed us. Wyatt's ex? From last summer? I pieced it together in stolen glances. A girl named Riley, or wait, no Ryan? Portland. A city of bridges and secrets, where Wyatt had spent June at a soccer camp. Or so he'd said. That night I drove to the pier alone, the note burning a hole in my jeans. Rain slicked the boards, waves slapping angry below. When he showed, hood up against the gale, I thrust the paper at him. What's this? He scanned it, face paling. Eli, it's bullshit. Portland. The word cracked like thunder. Tell me. He deflated, shoulders slumping, the boy who'd faced down storms now adrift. It was a mistake. Last summer after my dad. I was lost. Met this guy, Jake. One night. Nothing like us. His voice broke. I ended it before I even knew you existed. Betrayal bloomed cold in my chest. Not from the act but the omission, the pretty lies coating our foundation. You should have told me. I know. He reached for me, rain streaming down his face like tears. I was scared you'd run. I almost did anyway. I stepped back, the space between us a chasm. How do I trust this now? We stood there, soaked to the bone, words warring with silence. Finally he nodded, eyes glistening. Give me a chance to prove it. Please. I wanted to hate him, but love doesn't switch off like a light. One chance, I whispered. Don't make me regret it. As he pulled me into his arms, the rain washing away the salt of unshed tears, I wondered if forgiveness was just another form of drowning. Winter clamped down on Haven Point like a vice, the lake freezing at the edges, mirroring the ice creeping through my veins. Wyatt tried, God did he try. Flowers left on my windshield. Notes tucked into my textbooks quoting A. Cummings on loving despite the odds. Anyone lived in a pretty how town, he'd written once, the ink smudged like my resolve. We patched the fracture with careful conversations over coffee at the diner on Main Street, steam rising from mugs as he laid bare his scars, the suffocating weight of his father's expectations, the mill's shadow that demanded sons be strong, not soft. You're not soft, Wyatt, I said one afternoon, our boots crunching frost on the trail to Rattlesnake Ledge. The hike was his idea, a way to clear the air, he joked, but his grip on my hand was fierce, knuckles white against the cold. From the summit, Seattle sprawled below, a glittering promise amid the evergreens. You're the strongest person I know. He leaned against me, breath fogging the air. Coming from you? That's something. His story spilled then unbidden. The night in Portland, the hotel bar's haze, Jake's easy laugh pulling him under like quicksand. I hated myself after. Felt like I'd cheated fate before it even started. I absorbed it, the hurt thawing into understanding. We weren't perfect. We were human, stitched from flaws and fire. That night, back in his basement, we made love with a tenderness that bordered on reverence. Slow explorations, whispers of I choose you, etched into skin. In his arms, the world felt conquerable. But Haven Point had its own pulse, jealous and unyielding. Tyler's barbs sharpened, evolving from pranks to sabotage. My tires slashed after a game. Graffiti on my locker spelling slurs that curdled my stomach. Kane's lapdog. It read one morning, chalk dust flaking onto my shoes. I scrubbed it away before Wyatt saw, but the damage lingered, a bruise on our fragile peace. Mom noticed first. Over meatloaf that Sunday, her fork paused midair, eyes searching my face. You've been distant, honey. Is it school or something else? Her voice trembled, the unspoken that boy hanging like smoke. I deflected with a smile, helping with dishes while Dad droned on about the youth group ski trip. But later, alone in my room, her knock came soft. She sat on the bed's edge, clutching a photo album, yellowed pictures of me as a gap-toothed kid, before the move, before the questions. Your father loves you, Eli. We both do. But this path, it's hard. On all of us. Tears pricked my eyes. It's not a path, Mom. It's me. She pulled me close, her embrace a mix of comfort and cage. Then we'll pray for clarity. No condemnation but no acceptance either, a limbo that hollowed me out. Wyatt's family was no sanctuary. His dad, Harlan Kane, loomed like the mill's smokestacks, broad-shouldered, voice gravel from years of barking orders. I'd met him once at a game, his handshake crushing, eyes appraising. Keep my boy focused, son, he'd grunted, oblivious to the irony. Wyatt shielded me from deeper scrutiny, but cracks showed. Missed dinners, Wyatt slipping out after arguments that echoed through the walls. The real fracture came at the winter formal. The gym transformed into a winter wonderland. Fake snow drifting from vents, strings of lights twinkling like stars. Wyatt looked devastating in a navy suit, tie loosened, his hand warm in mine as we entered. Heads turned, murmurs rippling, but we danced anyway. Slow circles to Ed Sheeran, his chin on my shoulder, the world fading to our rhythm. Then Tyler struck. Midway through, as the song swelled, he stumbled into us, accidentally spilling punch down Wyatt's shirt. Laughter erupted, cruel and choral. Wyatt shoved him back, fists clenched. Back off, man. This ends now. Tyler smirked, wiping his mouth. Ends? Ask your boy about the pics. He held up his phone, a grainy shot flashing. Me and Wyatt at the falls, mid-kiss, time-stamped from weeks ago. Viral yet. The gym hushed, then exploded, gasps, giggles, flashes popping like gunfire. I froze, bile rising as Wyatt lunged, the two tumbling in a blur of limbs and curses. Coaches pulled them apart, blood trickling from Tyler's nose, Wyatt's knuckles raw. In the parking lot, rain sheeting down, Wyatt paced like a caged wolf. I'll kill him. That bastard. Stop. I grabbed his arm, voice steady despite the quake inside. This is what he wants. Us fighting. He deflated, pulling me against his chest, shirt sticky with punch and rain. I can't protect you from this, Eli. The town's poison. We drove in silence to the overlook, engine rumbling low. There under the dash lights he broke. My dad's sending me to boarding school. East Coast. After break. Says I need structure. Code for fixing me. The words landed like a slap. What? You didn't. I was gonna tell you. Tonight. Tears tracked his face, illuminated in sodium glow. I don't want to go. But fighting him. It's tearing us apart. I cupped his face, thumbs brushing salt from his cheeks. Then don't. Stay. For us. His laugh was shattered glass. You make it sound simple. It is. Desperation clawed me. I love you, Wyatt. Enough to fight. He kissed me then, fierce and farewell tinged, the truck rocking with our grief. But as his phone lit up, Harlan's name flashing, we knew the clock was ticking. The betrayal wasn't Tyler's, not really. It was the world conspiring to pull us under. And in that moment, holding Wyatt as the rain drummed the roof, I vowed to swim against the current, no matter how deep. Spring tiptoed and hesitant, the lake thawing into rivulets that mirrored my unraveling. Wyatt's departure loomed like a guillotine, Harlan's decree final. St. Andrew's Academy in Massachusetts, a prep school fortress where boys become men. Wyatt packed in stolen hours, his room a war zone of duffels and dog-eared yearbooks, while I hovered like a ghost, memorizing the slope of his shoulders, the way his lashes fanned against his cheeks in sleep. We'll visit, he promised during our last hike. Backpacks heavy with sandwiches we barely touched. The trail to Mason Lake wound through ferns unfurling green. Birdsong a mocking counterpoint to our silence. At the water's edge he skipped a stone, 3 bounces a record, and turned to me, eyes fierce. Buses, planes, whatever. Summer's in Seattle. It'll be our rhythm. I nodded, throat tight, but the math didn't add. Distance as a thief, time as an accomplice. Right me. Every day. Every hour. He grinned, but it wobbled, and when he kissed me deep anchoring, the future tasted of goodbye. The night before he left, we snuck to the old drive-in on the outskirts. The lot empty save for fireflies winking in the dusk. Propped against the truck's hood, a blanket spread beneath us, we watched the stars emerge. His head in my lap as I carted fingers through his hair. Remember Portland? He murmured, voice thick. That mistake? It led me here. To you. Fate's got a twisted sense of humor. I leaned down, lips brushing his temple. Stories flowed then. Childhood swapped like trading cards. My summers chasing fireflies in the Palouse, his clambering logging rigs with his brother, long gone to the Marines. Laughter mingled with tears, the vulnerability a bridge over our fears. As dawn pinked the horizon, he sat up, pulling me astride his lap. I love you, Elias Harper. Don't forget that. Our lovemaking was unhurried, acclaiming against the inexorable, skin on skin, breath sinking like waves. Afterward, tangled and sated, he whispered plans. Weekend getaways post-graduation, an apartment with a view of the Sound, lives intertwined like the roots beneath us. But dawn brought the drive to Seattle-Tacoma, Harlan's SUV idling like judgment. Wyatt hugged me fierce in the terminal, his cologne clinging like a talisman. Wait for me, he said, voice muffled in my shoulder. Always. The word choked out as he walked away, boarding pass crumpled in his fist, not looking back. The void hit like withdrawal. School became a gauntlet, empty seats where he'd sat, echoes of his laugh in the halls. Tyler's crew backed off, chastened by Harlan's influence, but the isolation deepened. I threw myself into college apps, essays on identity that bled my soul onto the page. The green light isn't across the bay. It's in the hand reaching for yours, even when the current pulls you under. Mom's worry morphed into tentative bridges. One evening, over chamomile tea, she slid a pamphlet across the table. PFLA meeting in Seattle. Just read it, she said, eyes averted. Dad remained a wall, but at dinner, he grunted approval when I mentioned UW's lit program. Small mercies, but they mended something frayed. Wyatt's letters came faithful. Postcards from Boston's brick charm, scribbles on notebook margins detailing dorm pranks and midnight doubts. Miss your voice. Miss your everything. Calls bridged the miles, his timbre a lifeline through static, confessions whispered after lights out. They ask why I'm quiet. I tell them I'm homesick for you. Spring break, I scraped funds for a Greyhound ticket. The bus jolting east through mountain passes that tested my resolve. St. Andrews was ivy-clad privilege, quads alive with lacrosse players and trust fund laughs. Wyatt met me at the gates, sweeping me into an embrace that erased the weeks. You came. We had 3 days, bliss in stolen fragments. Study carols turned trysting spots, where his hand under the table grounded me. Walks along the Charles River, autumn leaves crunching underfoot as we dreamed aloud. One night, in his single room, posters of soccer legends papering the walls, he knelt before me, eyes shining. Marry me. Someday. When we're free. The ring was a twist tie from a bread bag, silly and sacred. I slipped it on, laughing through tears. Someday. But shadows lurked. On the quad, a teammate, broad, blonde, all-American, clapped Wyatt's back too long, eyes lingering on me with veiled disdain. Later in bed, Wyatt confessed, they're not all bad. But the questions. Who's the girl? I shut it down, but it wears. Stay you, I murmured, tracing his jaw. That's enough. Return to Haven Point was a plummet. The lake mocked me with its calm, from approaching like a specter. I went stag, Mason's date bailing last minute, dancing alone under disco lights to songs that twisted the knife. Tyler cornered me by the punch bowl, breath sour with beer. Kane ditched you, huh? Figures. You're just the small-town experiment. I shoved past, heart hammering, but his words festered. Late-night calls with Wyatt grew strained. His exhaustion from drills, my silence is heavy with unspoken fears. Then the letter came, not from him but Harlan. Typed on mill letterhead, delivered by courier. Elias, Wyatt's future is at stake. This dalliance ends now. Respect his opportunities. Enclosed, a photo. Us at the falls, circled in red, time-stamped. Rage boiled, but beneath it, terror. Was this the betrayal I'd feared all along? Wyatt bending to his father's will? I confronted him that night, voice shaking over the line. Your dad knows. Sent pictures. Silence, then a curse. Eli, I swear. Swear what? That you're fighting. Tears spilled. Or that you're done. I'm not. God, I'm not. Panic etched his tone. Come out here. We'll face him together. But summer loomed, scholarships and part-time jobs chaining me home. The call ended in pleas, promises fraying like old rope. Graduation dawned crisp, caps sailing into blue skies. I scanned the crowd for Wyatt, no show, his flight delayed. Alone on stage, diploma in hand, I felt the weight. Love as a bird with clipped wings. That night, bonfire on the beach, flames licking logs as waves whispered recriminations. Tyler lurked at the edges, but I ignored him, toasting marshmallows with old friends. Finn with his easy grin. Miles sketching caricatures in the sand. Laughter came forced, but it anchored me. Then my phone buzzed. Wyatt. Landed. Meet me at the pier? Heart leaping, I ran the path lit by moonlight. He was there, duffel at his feet, Harlan's SUV long gone. I told him, he said, pulling me close. About us. Everything. Shock stole my breath. And he threw the keys. Said if I choose this, I'm on my own. His smile trembled. I chose you. We collapsed onto the boards, kisses salt stung. The future uncertain but ours. Betrayal had come, not from him but from the world, and we defied it, hands clasped against the tide. Summer unfurled like a banner of possibility. The sun gilding Haven Point's edges, turning the lake to molten silver. Wyatt crashed at my place first. Mom's uneasy blessing, Dad's gruff rules. The attic guest room, our makeshift haven. Floorboards creaking under midnight confessions. We worked odd jobs. Him at the marina, hauling lines with salt-crusted hands. Me shelving books at the library, the hush a balm for our raw nerves. Evenings were ours, picnics on the grass, his head in my lap as I read aloud from Kerouac, the road's call echoing our own itch to roam. "You're my compass," he said one dusk, fingers interlaced atop a checkered blanket, fireflies pulsing like heartbeats. "Without you, I'd still be lost." Love deepened in those sun-soaked days, a tapestry woven from small threads. Shared showers that steamed the bathroom mirror with foggy hearts. Drives to Olympia, where we wandered the Capitol grounds, debating futures over ice cream cones dripping vanilla. College loomed, me to UW's English program, him to community college on a partial ride, logistics a puzzle we solved with stubborn hope. But Harlan's shadow stretched long. Checks stopped, the mill's accounts frozen. Wyatt's truck repossessed overnight, leaving us biking to shifts, sweat slick and laughing through the burn. Character building. He'd quip, but nights brought doubts, his sleep fractured by dreams of paternal thunder. Mom became an unlikely ally. Grocery runs turned confessional, her admitting a college crush on a roommate, buried under convention, me spilling the terror of that first babe, the liberation in his voice. "Love isn't sin, Eli," she said one afternoon, kneading dough for pies, flour dusting her apron like snow. "It's grace." Dad thawed slower, awkward silences evolving to nods over breakfast, a fishing trip where he clapped my shoulder, words unspoken but felt. The town, though? Haven Point simmered with schadenfreude. Grocery clerks whispered behind registers. At the gas station, old-timers shook heads over that Kane boy, wayward as his ma. Tyler graduated and aimless escalated. Tires on my bike slashed. Anonymous calls breathing slurs into the receiver. Wyatt confronted him once at the diner, voices rising over hash browns. "Leave him be, Ty. Or it's you and me, no refs." Tyler sneered but backed down, the fight draining from him like air from a punctured tire. Later Wyatt told me, he's broken too. Dad left his when he was 10. Misery loves company. Empathy softened the edges but safety was illusion. One muggy July night, the annual mill picnic, Harlan's domain, picnic tables groaning under ribs and coleslaw. We went uninvited, Wyatt's chin lifted in defiance. Harlan spotted us from the grill, spatula pausing, face thunderous. "Wyatt!" A word. The argument unfolded by the cooling towers, voices carrying on the humid breeze. Accusations of waste, pleas for reconciliation laced with conditions. "Come home, son. This phase." "It's not a phase, Dad. It's my life." Harlan's laugh barked hollow. "With him, you'll end up broken alone. Better than hollow and hating myself." Wyatt's voice cracked and I stepped forward, hand on his arm. Harlan's gaze raked me, dismissive, dissecting. "You. Encouraging this folly." "He's family," Mom interjected, appearing like a guardian, her voice steady. "And family's worth fighting for." The standoff dissolved in tense retreat, but seeds planted. Harlan's eyes flickering not just anger but fracture. A man confronting his own uncharted loves. August brought heat waves, the air thick as molasses, mirroring the tension coiling in us. Wyatt's acceptance to UW's extension program sealed it. Commuting from a shared studio in Capitol Hill, visions of city lights and corner cafes. But funding? A scramble. Scholarships denied, loans predatory. Desperation peaked at a town fair. Ferris wheel spinning lazy circles, when Wyatt pulled me aside behind the cotton candy stand. "I enlisted," he said, eyes downcast. "National Guard. Tuition covered plus steady pay." The world tilted. "What?" "No. Hear me out." He gripped my hands, calluses rough from ropes. 2 years, weekends mostly. Then we're set. Apartment classes us. Tears blurred the midway lights. "And if they send you away?" "They won't. Not yet." But his voice wavered, the lie thin. We argued under the stars, words whipping like fairground flags. My pleas for alternatives, his resolve armored in necessity. "I need to provide, Eli. For us. You need to be safe." Sobs choked me and he folded me close, the scent of popcorn and his skin a cruel comfort. Reconciliation came raw, in the truck bed under blankets, bodies seeking solace in motion. "Forgive me," he whispered, tracing my spine. This is love, sacrificing so we can have tomorrow. I nodded against his chest, but fear rooted deep, a weed in our garden. Fall whispered in, leaves turning crimson as we packed for Seattle. The move was chaos. Boxes crammed into Mom's Subaru, goodbyes laced with promises. Dad hugged Wyatt stiff man-to-man, muttering, "Take care of my boy." Harlan sent a letter curt, "Prove me wrong. No olive branch but no sword either." Our studio was a shoebox overlooking the market. Peeling paint, a window box of wilted basil, but ours. First night, takeout sprawled on the floor. We christened it with laughter and limbs, the city hum a serenade. Yet drills pulled him weekends away, fatigues replacing jeans, his return marked by exhaustion and evasive eyes. Just maneuvers, he'd say, but the distance grew, emotional, not miles. November chill brought the call, deployment. Not overseas, thank God, stateside training, 6 months in Texas. Temporary, he assured, packing his duffel with mechanical precision. Then back. To this. Airport farewell was agony. His uniform crisp, my heart leaden. Write me, I echoed his old vow, kissing him fierce amid the throng. Letters flew like arrows. His from dusty bases, tales of barracks banter and starlit doubts. Mine from rainy cafes, essays unfinished, love poured into margins. But silence stretched, mail delayed, calls spotty. Then the package. No note, just photos. Wyatt and a soldier, tanned, laughing, arms slung casual in a bar's neon glow. Timestamp. Last month. Portland's echo but sharper. Betrayal round 2. I confronted via voicemail, voice shattering. Who's he? Another mistake. His callback was frantic. Eli, wait, it's nothing. A friend. The team's ribbing. Save it. I hung up, the line dead as my trust. Days blurred in numbness. Classes of fog, Seattle's vibrancy mocking. Mom drove down, arms laden with pies, her embrace a harbor. Hearts mend crooked, but they mend. Thanksgiving. Alone in the studio, I burned the photos, ashes swirling in the sink like regrets. Wyatt's next letter arrived singed. Believe me. Come see. Texas. Please. Against reason, I went, bus to planes to dust-choked base. He met me at the gate, uniform rumpled, eyes hollow. You came. We walked the perimeter, chain link rattling in the wind. It was a setup, he said, handing a letter, Tyler's, forwarded through channels, confessing jealousy-fueled forgery. Paid a guy to stage it. Wanted to break us. Relief crashed, but scars lingered. Why didn't you fight harder? I did. Every day. Tears carved tracks in dust. But fear. It's a liar. We made love in a motel off base, desperate and healing. His uniform discarded like old skin. No more secrets, he vowed, forehead to mine. Promise. And in that arid room with jets thundering overhead, I believed. Texas stretched into eternity, but Wyatt's rotation ended in a whirlwind of reunions. Him bursting through the studio door, duffel thudding, arms engulfing me in a scent of desert and home. Seattle welcomed him back with open skies, the market's bustle a counterpoint to our quiet joy. Lazy mornings tangled in sheets, his laughter echoing off brick as we navigated the hill's steep climbs. Classes resumed tandem, his in kinesiology, mine in lit, study sessions dissolving into debates over Austen versus Hemingway, his foot hooked round my ankle under the table. Yet the year's toll lingered, a undercurrent pulling at seams. Wyatt threw himself into drills, volunteering for extra shifts, the guard a double-edged sword. Stability won, but shadows of what-if haunting quiet moments. I see the guys who don't come back, he'd murmur in the dark, my fingers tracing dog tags cool against his chest. Makes this us feel fragile. I'd hold him then, whispering absurdities to coax smiles. Plots of novels we'd write, a cabin in the Cascades with a dog named Gatsby. Dreams as mortar, rebuilding what war chipped away. Winter solstice brought Harlan's thaw. A letter handwritten this time. Saw Wyatt at the mill holiday party. Proud despite myself. Dinner? We went, the Victorian aglow with wreaths, Harlan's handshake firm but eyes softer. Over prime rib stories flowed. His youth a forbidden flirtation with a mill hand, buried under duty. Love's a storm, he said, glass raised. You two weathered it. Respect. Tears pricked Wyatt's eyes, mine too. Bridges built. Not of perfection but forgiveness. Spring bloomed defiant. Cherry blossoms carpeting Capitol Hill like confetti. Tyler resurfaced, cleaned up, enrolled in community college, a chance encounter at a coffee shop yielding awkward amends. I was drowning, he admitted, coffee steaming between us. Sorry doesn't fix, but it's start. Wyatt nodded, magnanimous. Water under the bridge, man. Graduation neared, caps and gowns a milestone. Our ceremony was joint. UW's quad alive with cheers, families milling. Mom and Dad in the stands, Harlan beside them, the tableau a quiet victory. As we crossed stages, diplomas clutched. Wyatt caught my eye from his row, mouthing babe with that grin. The memory a full circle ache. Post-ceremony rooftop party at Finn's. Miles DJing indie sets. Laughter cascading like champagne. Wyatt pulled me to the edge, city lights sprawling below. A velvet box in his palm. Not someday. Now. The ring was simple silver, etched with coordinates of our peer. Marry me, Eli. Make this forever. Tears blurred the skyline. Yes. God, yes. Kisses sealed it amid whoops, the night a blur of toasts and dances, bodies swaying to our rhythm. But life, ever the dramatist, scripted one final act. Summer's heat peaked when Wyatt's CO called. Overseas deployment. Afghanistan 9 months. Non-combat, he assured, but eyes betrayed the lie. The apartment became a vigil. Packing lists scrawled on napkins, my hands shaking as I folded his civvies. I'll wait, I vowed, echoing his old words. Right. Call. Be safe. Airport dawn was cruel, his uniform starched, my heart raw. Love you, he said, kiss lingering. To the stars and back. Months yawned. Letters yellowed on the fridge. Care packages shipped with love notes tucked in socks. Seattle carried on, rains lashing windows, my thesis on queer narratives in American lit a catharsis, words pouring identity like balm. Mom visited, baking in our kitchen. Harlan sent books, dog-eared with marginalia. Then the blast, headlines first. Convoy hit, casualties. My world narrowed to a ringing phone, CO's voice grave. Stable. Burns, shrapnel. Walter Reed. I flew east, heart a war drum. The hospital a sterile maze of beeps and bleach. Wyatt lay bandaged, face ashen but eyes lighting at my approach. You came. Always. I took his hand, foretethered, the touch a lifeline. Recovery was marathon. Skin grafts, PT sessions where I'd wheel him through gardens, his curses softening to gratitude. Couldn't do this without you, he'd say, progress marked in steps, not miles. Harlan flew in, sitting vigil. Tyler even sent a card, scrawled hang tough. Family forged in fire. Fall found us homebound, Wyatt's discharge honorable, scars mapping his torso like constellations. The cabin materialized, our savings and Harlan's quiet loan, nestled in the Olympics, pines whispering welcome. One evening, porch swing creaking, sunset painting the sound gold, he turned to me. We made it, babe. Through the storms. I leaned into him, ring glinting. And the calm after. Years wove forward. My novel published, quiet acclaim. His coaching gig at a Seattle rec center. Kids orbiting his easy wisdom. Weddings came, small lakeside, vows exchanged under evergreens. Mom's tears joyful, dad's nod profound. Haven Point faded to fond memory, but its lessons etched. Love as rebellion, identity as anchor. In quiet moments, Wyatt's hand in mine, I'd think of that cafeteria chaos, the babe that shattered and rebuilt. We'd chosen freedom, compassion our compass. And in each other's eyes we found home.